Alrighty. Good morning, good afternoon, hello, whatever's happening. This is Coach Cat. Thank you. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, please remember that we also now have tutoring Fridays after school. If you'd like to attend the tutoring, you're more than welcome to meet me in the math room after school, okay? All right, so we're on lesson 8.2, solving two-step equations. Okay, so you should be on page 251. All right, so most of you have already gone through this. If you haven't, don't worry. I'm going to show you a few different ways to be able to do this, okay? So we have modeling and solving two-step equations, okay? If you guys remember from our last lesson, you guys learned how to do the algebra tiles, okay? So if you see here, that's where we do the positives and the negatives, and this is where we'd write out our 3n plus 2 equals 11, and then you'd write out, I have how many 3's? 1, 2, 3, they're all positive. I have 2 positives, and I have 11 positives over here, okay? So next, what we're going to do is over here, it says remove 2 positive 1 tiles from each side of the mat. Okay, so what that means is you take these 2 and you take them out. All right, then you go here to step 3. Now it wants you to divide them into 3 equal groups. Okay, and so then that way when you put them out, you see that 1 over here is equal to how many over here? That's 3. Okay, this is one way you can solve it. This is not my favorite way to solve it. It's quite difficult for me to understand. So if you don't get that, that is perfectly fine. You do not have to do it that way. If you do understand this, continue to use it. Okay. I'm not entirely confident on it, but if you can do that, go ahead. All right. I'm going to show you my favorite way to do it. Okay. So when I have these problems down here, okay, I'm going to first start out with number 1. All right, I'm going to write it here. 2x plus 5 equals 11. All right, I always need a little bit of room to work when I do these. So if you want to use the notes side over here to do any of your stuff, you're more than welcome to. Okay, so first thing I have, when I see an equal sign, I want to draw my line down the middle of that equal sign. Okay, and the reason we do that is so that way I know I have a left side and a right side that I am free and able to do my work with, okay? So we have a few steps on how we go through these, all right? First one is we take our 2x plus 5 equals 11. We are going to try and isolate our variable. The variable we have here is x, okay? And attached to that x is a 2, all right? These guys can't be taken apart unless we do the opposite, okay? This going here first would be probably a little difficult, so we're going to do the plus 5 first, okay? So in order to get rid of that plus 5 to be able to get x by itself, we have to do the opposite, all right? So do you guys remember what the opposite of positive 5 is? All right, go ahead and notate that underneath. Should put negative 5, all right? And number one thing you need to remember, go ahead and you can write a little note over here. If I do it to one side, I have to do it to the other. Okay? That is going to be the most important and most helpful thing that you will know when it comes to solving for x. Okay, so if I have my negative 5 over here, I have to do negative 5 over here. Okay, so we'll go ahead and start on the left side over here. Always move from left to right. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and bring down what I already have. Okay, so I know I have my 2x. All right, we now know that 5 minus 5 equals 0. Instead of writing a 0, because that'll complicate things up a little bit, we're just going to cross them out because they cancel each other out anyways. Okay, then I'm going to go ahead and bring down my equal sign. Then this is the part that I really want you to pay attention to here. Do this equation exactly as it shows. What exactly does this say? 11 minus 5. All right, what is 11 minus 5? All right, we should have gotten 6, okay? So now we have 2x equals 6, okay? So now, and this is another note that I need you to put down somewhere else, okay, is 2x is the exact same thing as 2 times x, okay? If it's squished together like this, that means the exact same thing as multiplying, okay? All right, so we have to do the opposite of this in order to get rid of that 2, because we want to get x by itself. All right, so we're going to go ahead and do the opposite. All right, I put a line here to show I'm dividing, okay? Because remember, fractions are division. All right, so I'm dividing by 2. If I do it on one side, I have to do it to the other. Divide by 2 over here. All right, and so that leaves me with what? X is equal to what? 6 divided by 2 is what? Okay, you should notate that as a 3. All right, we're going to go ahead and we're going to do number 2. Okay, teacher, if you need to pause the video for the students to get this one down, you're more than welcome to. I'm going to go ahead and erase this so that way I have room to work. Okay? Okay. So, we're going to go ahead and move on to number 2. All right? Okay, here we go. I have 3n minus 1 is equal to 8. Okay? Very first thing I want to do is I want to draw a line down my equal sign. So that way I can separate my left side from my right side. Okay? Next thing I need to know is I have to make sure I can't do this first because it's connected. I want to go ahead and do what's furthest away from my variable. My variable for this one is a new letter, which is what? It's n. That means the exact same thing as x, okay? Don't get too worried or bent out of shape. They use different letters sometimes. It all means the same thing, okay? We're just trying to figure out what that letter is, okay? So again, we're going to start with the letter, or I'm sorry, the number that is furthest away from the letter. This guy is connected to him, so we can't do him. We're going to start with him, okay? That -1. All right, so we have a -1 here, or a -1. And what is the opposite of -1? +1. If I do +1 on this side, I have to do it to the other. +1. All right? When I have my -1 +1, those guys cancel each other out. Okay, and is there a need to write a 0? No, it'll just confuse us a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and just bring down whatever we have left on that left side, which is 3n. Bring down my equals. Now we do this equation exactly as it says right here. What is 8 plus 1? All right, we have 9. Okay, now I'm going to divide, because remember, when they're squished together, they mean the same thing as multiply. And I have to do the opposite. I'm going to divide by 3 over here. Then I divide by 3 over here. Those cancel each other out, so I'm left with just n. Alright. Now I'm going to do 9 divided by 3. See? 9 divided by 3. And 9 divided by 3 is just 3. Okay? Another thing I want you to go ahead and notate somewhere on here is that oops, sorry. There we go. I have to do the opposite to move it. Okay? Alright, so now, yeah, you're going to have a lot of notes on this one, so please make sure that you are copying those down. Okay? Again, if you need to pause this at any point in time, you're more than welcome to. I'm just going to keep going. Okay? So, again, I'm going to erase this so I have more room to work. Okay? And my suggestion on these is always get another sheet of paper, because you are definitely going to have a lot to write. Okay, so our next one is 2a minus 3 equals -5. Okay, first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to draw my line down my equal sign. Okay, so now I'm going to do the one, I'm going to try and get rid of my -3. Okay, and how do I get rid of -3? How do I move my -3 away? I have to do the opposite. So I'm going to add 3 here. And if I add 3 there, I have to add 3 on the other side. Okay? Now, that means these buds just cancel out. So I'm only left with 2a. Bring down my equal sign. Now I have -5 plus 3. That gives me a -2. Alright. Now I'm going to go ahead, and whenever I see these guys squished together, I know that it just means they're multiplying. And if I know they're multiplying, I have to do the opposite to be able to move it. Okay, so what is the opposite of multiplying? I'm dividing by 2. You see? Okay, so now I'm left with just a equals, and what is 2 divided by 2? It's then -1. -2 divided by 2. I'm so sorry. So our a is equal to -1. Okay? Alright. Please make sure that you are remembering to do each of your steps. Go slowly. Alright? Because the second you start going too fast, that's where you mess up. Okay? Let's go ahead and do that last one over here. Alright? So this last one here is -4y plus 2 equals -2. Okay, first thing I want to do is draw my line. My variable for this equation is a y, and that means I'm trying to get y by itself. Okay? I'm so sorry. Okay, here we go. All right, so we're trying to get y by itself. I'm so sorry. So we have to be able to do the thing that's furthest away. So right now we know that that is connected to that y, so we can't do him. So we have to be able to get rid of that too. All right, so in order to get rid of it, I have to do the opposite to move it. The opposite of +2 or +2 is -2. Okay? And remember, I'm doing the -2 on both sides because I have to do it to the other side. Okay? Alright, so now I can cross those out, and I'm left with -4y. Bring down my equals. And we have -2 divided by -2. That's 0. 1. -2 divided by -2. I'm so sorry. Negative 2 minus 2 is 4. I don't know what I'm doing. Negative 2 minus 2 is 4. Negative 4. Okay, so now I have my variable that is stuck with my negative 4. How do I get rid of that? Go back up to your note. We know that when they're squished together like that, that means they're multiplying. And in order to move it, I have to do the opposite. What's the opposite of multiplying by negative 4? Dividing by negative 4. Okay? I can cross these out, and that means I'm left with my variable of y. Okay? And we have negative 4 divided by negative 4, which is a positive 1. Okay? All right. Again, don't get too frazzled. This is going to take some time to learn. Make sure that you have these notes handy. Okay? If you don't have these notes over here, it's going to get really difficult. Okay? If you need to pause the video, you're more than welcome to. All right? Okay, let's go ahead. We're going to move on to our next page. Okay? If you look over here, this shows you exactly how I solved it. All right? So it shows you over here that you do your opposite on both sides. Then you go and you bring down what you have. Then you have to separate them with division. And you have W equals 30. Okay? The only thing we're going to add from here on is graphing the solution on a number line. So that means our W equals 30. All we're doing is we're putting a dot on the 30. That's the only difference. Okay? All right. Don't worry about number 5. That one's kind of difficult. I don't really like the way they worded that, and it doesn't make sense to me, so yeah, we're not going to worry about that. All right, so go ahead on to our next page, 253, okay? We're going to do these together, okay? All right, so go ahead, take a moment and read number 6 by yourself. I'm going to give you a few seconds. You're going to read number 6 by yourself. Make sure to underline and circle the important information that you need. Okay, so if you need more time, go ahead and pause that. Teacher, if they need a little bit more time, you can pause that for them if they're not quite finished. All right, so Maureen wants to buy a camera. It is $198. She has $30 and plans to save $12 each week. In how many weeks will she be able to buy the camera? So this is where I think it was 7.2, where we learned that we have our numbers and we have to make an equation. That's where we learned how to do that. That's where this is going to come in handy to be able to solve for our equation. Okay, so we have let's go ahead and circle our important things. All right, so we have a $198 camera. She already has $30, and she wants to save $12 each week. Okay? And we want to know in the end how many weeks she needs to be able to buy the camera. All right, so our first thing that we're going to do is we know our end number. We know the end number is $198. Okay, so we can go ahead and put our equals. Oops. Our equals is 198. We already know that. Okay, so now, how much money does she already have? She already has $30. Okay, and we need to know how much money she needs to add to that $30. That's where I'm getting positive from. All right, we need to know how much money she needs to add to be able to save up to buy that $198. How much money is she going to save? It says $12 each week. How many weeks? I don't know. Okay, that's where I'm getting my each week from. That's where I put my X. All right, you could put an X, you can put a W, you can put a Q. It doesn't matter. All that matters is you put a variable there to be able to understand and know, okay, that I need to figure out. Okay, so now that we have our equation, all it's asking for us to do is solve it. Okay, so these are kind of turning into multi-step problems. Don't be too dissuaded by those. They're not as scary as you think they are. All right, so we're going to go ahead and solve for that. All right, so we have 198 equals 30 plus 12x. First thing I do, drawing my line. All right, now looking at this 30, is that a positive 30 or a negative 30? All right, you should have said positive 30. All right, so we're going to do the opposite of positive 30, which is minus 30 on both sides. And the reason I'm doing 30 first and not 12x is because he has a buddy, he does not. He's easier to get rid of. Okay, so I can go ahead and cross those out because they just cancel out. All right, I can bring down my 12x. All right. All right, then you're going to just do the equation exactly as it shows right here. 198 minus 30. Okay? Now, when these are squished together, right here, what operation are they doing when they're squished together? Very good, they're multiplying. So we're going to do the opposite of multiplying, which is dividing by 12. Dividing by 12. All right, on this side, those 12s can cancel out and they just leave me with my variable of x. Once I divide these up, it leaves me with 14. Okay, whenever you get these, I want you to go ahead and circle or box your answer for me so I know where it is. Okay, you guys have been doing a great job of that. Please continue to do that. Okay, now, next thing. Where you see where there's a number line down here, this is the second part of the problem. If you don't do this part of the problem, I can't give you full credit. Okay, so all it's asking you to do is put a dot on the number what? Yeah, it's not too difficult. Just put a dot on 14. That's all it wants you to do. Okay? All right, we're going to go ahead and do number 7. All right, I want you to go ahead and read through number 7 by yourself. So, teacher, if you could please pause this for them to go ahead and read it by themselves. Awesome. Okay, so you should have gone through and underlined what was important. We have 58 inches. We have 18 inches. And we need to know what the width of the frame is. Okay? So we know that the perimeter is 58. Okay, so we know that the end is 58. Okay, we know we already have 36. All right, I got that from adding my 18 and my 18. And the reason I did that is because I have a picture frame, so I have 4 sides, and I'm only doing these 2. That's why I did the 36. Okay? All right. So then, I know I'm going to add my 2W. And again, that's because I have my 4 sides, I'm only doing those 2. All right? So I'm going to go over here, I'm going to rewrite my equation, and now I'm going to solve it. Okay, first thing I do is draw my line. That was a bit too aggressive of a line. Miss Cat, calm down. All right, so now I need to go ahead and look at where I have my equation, and I need to make sure I take away what's furthest away from this variable. And what's furthest away is that 36. So I do the opposite. Subtract 36. Subtract 36. Cross him out. Leaves me with 2W on this side. Alright. That's 2. Whoa. Alright. Now, when these are squished together, again, that means what? Very good. So now I'm going to divide by 2. The reason I'm drawing my line is because I'm dividing and fractions are equal to division. Okay? I cross these out and I'm left with W on this side equals, and 22 divided by 2 is 11. Okay, and again, box that answer once you get it for me. And I want you to go ahead, take a moment, teacher, if you can pause it, for them to be able to do this part themselves, which all that it was asking you to do is put a little dot where an 11 is. Okay? Alright. We're going to go ahead and move on to our next page. Determine, again, teacher, if you could pause this for them so that way they can read through this. Okay. Alrighty, so what you can do, and this is, you have 2 ways to solve this. You can either pick one at a time and then try and plug them in for where K is. So you could do 3 times -7 plus 15 and try and find out if it equals 66. And then if that doesn't work, you can replace it with the, if that doesn't work, then you can replace that 3, or you can replace that with 17 and see if that gives you 66. And then if that doesn't work, you can go back and do it again and see if 27 gives you 66. And while this is an it's a simpler way logically, it is not a easier way. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to genuinely solve for this equation so we don't have to sit here for 10 minutes trying to plug stuff in. Okay? So I'm going to take my 3K, I'm going to rewrite it so I have room to solve it. Okay? First thing I do, draw my line. Then I have to find my variable, which is K. And I got to do what's furthest away from the K first, which is that 15. Okay? So we see that it's a positive or a plus 15. And we have to do the opposite of that. So we're going to do minus 15. And if I do that over here, I got to do it over here also. Alright? That means those guys cancel out. And on this side, I'm left with 3K. Alright? Then I have 66 minus 15. That gives me 51. Alright? Now then, these are squished together. When the variables are squished together with a number, what does that mean they're doing? You got it, they're multiplying. So now we got to do the opposite of multiply, which is dividing. I'm dividing by 3 because that's the number that's stuck with K. Alright? When I do that, I should find that my K equals to 17. Okay? Alright, so now you guys are going to try this next one, number 9, on your own. Teacher, if you could pause the video for them. I want them to try this one, and then once majority are finished, please walk around and make sure that majority are finished. Once that's done, then you can go ahead and press play and we can go over that one together. Okay? Alrighty, so we're going to go ahead and go over number 9. Alright? So, again, you could have chosen to plug each of these individually in and see what you get. Or you can just go ahead and solve. Either one is fine. I'm not picky. I just want you to do what you understand. Okay? So we're going to do P equals negative 72. I'm so sorry. I was looking at that weird. We're doing P over 9 equals... What is happening, Miss Cat? Minus 5 equals 7. Okay? First thing I do, you should have done, is draw your line. Alright, then I have to do my number that is furthest away, which is that 5. So I'm doing plus 5, plus 5. Alright, those cancel out. That leaves me with P over 9 equals 11. Wait. Sorry, 12. I'm so sorry. Alright, now, when they are put like this, that means they're dividing. What's the opposite of dividing? You got it. Multiplying. And we're going to multiply by the number that's sitting there with him, which is what? 9. So those cancel out and leave me with just P. And I'm multiplying by 9 over here. 12 times 9 gives me 108. Okay? Alrighty. Go ahead and I want you to go ahead and we're going to go through. If you could please, teacher, when you get a moment, they're going to solve for 3 and 4, 5 and 6, and then just pause it after each one to make sure that they're slowing down and going through it correctly, okay? All right, we'll start with number 3. All right, first thing I do, I'm going to rewrite it over here so I have some room. 41, draw my line. I add my 15, add my 15. Those cancel out, leaves me with 8m equals 56. I divide by 8, divide by 8. M should equal 7. So I write M equals 7. And then because it has a number line, it wants me to put a dot right here on the 7. All right, go ahead and try number 4. Go ahead and pause it, please. All right, let's go ahead and go over number 4. All right, I'm going to rewrite it. K over 3 plus 21 equals 27. First thing I do is draw my line. Subtract my 21 from both sides. Those cancel out. So now I bring down what I have, which is 6. Then because these are dividing, this is division, I do the opposite, which is multiply. So I'm multiplying by 3, because that's the number that's there. Multiplying by 3. So K equals 18. And you should go ahead and put a dot on 18. All right. Go ahead and pause it so they can do number 5. All right, let's go over number 5. You have 2 different ways you could have solved it. You could have plugged each of these in and for where P is, or you could just go ahead and solve it fully. Either one is fine. I'm going to go ahead and do the solving it fully. 9P minus 18 equals 27. Draw my line. Start starting with what's furthest away, I add my 18. Bring down what's left, which is 9p. 15, carry me 1, 45. Divided by 9. So my p is equal to 5. Okay, go ahead and try for number 6. Go ahead and pause it, please. Alrighty, 2 different ways you could have solved it. You could have plugged each of these in for where A is, or you could have just solved it fully out. I'm going to go ahead and solve it fully out. I'm going to write over all here, so I have some room. Draw my line. Now I start with what's furthest away, which is my 5. So I add 5 to both sides. That cancels out. A over my -2 equals a +5. I do the opposite over here, which is multiplying by -2. Multiplying by -2. So I have my A, which equals -10. Alright, don't worry about number 7, okay? Let's go ahead on. You are responsible for all of these bad boys up here, okay? And all these bad boys down here, alright? This one wants you to use a calculator to solve each equation. You're more than welcome to do that. We don't have a ton in the classroom, so do these at home, please. No, you may not use my calculators behind my desk unless I have specifically told you so. Teachers, there should be a list of who can and use the calculators. If you have not been approved, you may not use the calculator. I'm going to say it again. If you have not been approved, do not touch my calculators. All right. Down here on 20 through 26, you get to choose any 3. Any 3 you want, okay? You could do 1, 2, 3. Does not matter. Any 3 that you want to do, your choice, okay? So you're solving everything up here, choosing 3, doing the 3 on the bottom. You can go to the back. You're in charge of all of these. Oops. Okay? These are bonus. All of these 3, bonus. All right? If you try a bonus question, even if you get it wrong, I can replace it with one you got wrong over here. And you can get a higher grade. So my suggestion, try for the bonus questions. Okay? All right. Again, my tutoring times, all right, are Friday after school. Please make sure to come if you need help. All right? Or if you just miss me a lot. Okay? All right. Have a good day. I miss you guys.